This is a St. Patrick's Day like no other, a day that none of us will ever forget.
The last couple of years have been really tough for Irish tourism and hospitality since the peak of 2019. We had Brexit, of course, which was the issue of the day. It looked like we were going to have a hard Brexit right up to the 11th hour. Then, of course, the global COVID pandemic hit us and effectively closed travel, tourism and hospitality. And now the Ukraine crisis, which first and foremost is a humanitarian crisis, but also has very serious economic consequences for the globe, but also for Irish tourism.
COVID was certainly an existential challenge for the industry and for the tourism and hospitality sector, one like we've never experienced before.
We estimate that it cost Irish tourism over €12 billion. Effectively, we had no international visitors come to Ireland over a 2-year period.
First person diagnosed with the coronavirus on the island passed through the airport from northern Italy before travelling to Belfast.
So it was a hellish time in many ways. You had businesses closed, you had a non-essential travel ban, you had trading restricted and curtailed. So it was really, really difficult. We were dependent on the domestic market, which was great while it was there, but it's only a small proportion of the overall tourism economy.
The COVID-19 period was very difficult for aviation and the travel and tourism sector broadly. I think particularly so in Ireland, given the stringent nature of the restrictions and how long they lasted.
Well, COVID was very, very challenging for the international travel. I mean, obviously, there was only non-essential travel and there was all sorts of restrictions. So eventually, Ireland was closed.
A lot of effort went in over those pandemic years of trying to amplify the tourism message, make sure that we made as strong a case as possible to government for supports while trading was restricted or we were closed. And government, to give them their due, stepped up to the plate, and we benefited significantly from the wage subsidy scheme, from business continuity grants and so on. And it helped industry get through the crisis.
Well, what we learned from COVID as a sector, as tourism and hospitality industry, that we had to work together. We worked in a collaborative approach for the betterment of every business across the state.
And so many businesses that we're now delighted to see back up and running and rebuilding today really couldn't have been here without that government support. So I think it really was a time where the collaboration between industry and government has never been so good.
And the digital COVID cert, I think, was a big game changer. It allowed for international travel to recommence, which was very important, and also it was applied in a domestic setting to allow indoor hospitality to reopen.
Well, we're very optimistic for the forthcoming summer. The restrictions in Ireland, at least, have gone, as I've said, and we've been ramping up our capacity over Q1 and Q2. So by midsummer, we expect to have 90% of our 2019 levels of capacity in the market.
We may have kind of put COVID behind us, we may have put Brexit behind us, although they're still rumbling away in the background, but there are still huge challenges. But saying that, we're much more positive. This time last year we were closed, we were shuttered.
I think tourism has started recovery. I think this will be the year that we will certainly realise a good summer season. We've had and seen huge pent-up demand. We have a book of business that stayed with us and transferred from year to year. So this is the year that we will start recovery, but that's not to say that it's not without its challenges.
Bookings in the short term over Easter were positive. Out into the summer, a bit more uncertainty.
The most important thing now for the future for Ireland and Irish tourism and hospitality business is the 9% VAT rate. That has to be maintained by the government for the next number of years because it is the correct rate of VAT when we compare against the rest of our European colleagues.
Very important that the testing requirements into the US are lifted. I think they represent a deterrent really to both inbound and outbound passengers.
The year ahead is looking much more positive, albeit there are challenges that we are dealing with on a daily basis, but we feel that we'll be able to face them together. Our main issue really would be our labour supply. It is a challenge for our members, and also maintaining the VAT is hugely important to us as a sector, and one that we'll be focusing on for the next couple of months.
We in ITIC think there'll be about a 60% recovery this year versus 2019, which will be no mean feat considering what we've been through over the last 2 years. But it's a long, hard, arduous road ahead of us, and we need government to support us and stay the course. And that means pro-business, pro-tourism policies. It means deferring the scheduled VAT increase. It means maintaining tourism investment, because we as a sector are a massive employer and a massive regional employer as well. Pre-pandemic, we were the biggest indigenous industry the country had, the biggest regional employer. We want to get back to that. We want to be net contributors to the economy once more. And I think we have to reimagine tourism in a sustainable tourism model. And of course, sustainable tourism doesn't just mean the environment, it also means commercial and social sustainability as well. And
we do need to be sustainable as we rebuild, as we look to recover, because that other crisis that's not gone away is the climate crisis, and we have to play our part in making sure that we're doing as little damage and really helping the government to meet those targets that have been set.